The Chicago Bears acquisition of Devin Bush was just called one of the most under-the-radar moves of free agency in 2026. We're going to talk a little bit about that and what it means for the Chicago Bears. Also, we're talking about 4 Bears players that could play their last snaps with the Chicago Bears during this season and why analytics may have made the Chicago Bears pick at number 25 even more clear. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Chicago Bears, while didn't make a big splash in the offseason, made good signings. Kobe Bryant was a signing that most Bears fans really did love and understand the part of it. But the question is that even with the Bears not making the big splash, was the Chicago Bears offseason kind of underrated in what they were able to do in free agency? We still got to get through the draft. The draft can make this a home run depending on how Ryan Poles hits this, right? But, while the big splash move wasn't there, they did get better. And one of the moves that definitely got the Chicago Bears better was the signing and acquisition of Devin Bush, right? And Devin Bush is a player that when you hear the Chicago Bears talk about their new style that they want to bring to the defense, fast, aggressiveness, and violence, right? Devin Bush is a player that can definitely bring a lot of that for the Chicago Bears, right? And the fact that the Bears got him for a decent amount as well is why it's called one of the most underrated signings by the Chicago in the offseason as well. $10 million in average value for Devin Bush. When you look at what he's done and other options at linebacker, what some of the other linebackers got in this one, it's great. For example, Tremaine Edmonds inked a 3-year, $36 million deal with the Giants, but Devin Bush, who finished 9th overall in PFF and in the free agent rankings, the Bears signed him for cheaper and created even more of a massive value for that. You look on top of that, Devin Bush, a former top 10 pick that over the past 2 seasons really got his career back up. He was 4th highest on PFF overall grade, 87.6 among all linebackers last season. He was in the 97th percentile of grades in box coverage as well, and run defense since the start of the 2024 season. And this is a guy that brings strong, a well-rounded skill set for the Chicago Bears, and this is a skill that the Bears desperately needed. So now you look at having TJ Edwards, once he's healthy, and Devin Bush in there as your linebackers. And of course, you're going to look at Ruben Hippolyte. You're going to look at some other players and what they can bring in that linebacker spot. But with Dennis Allen and the way that he likes to even he'll bring a DB in there as a third linebacker. He'll bring in an extra defensive lineman, line them up as linebacker. So, that's something we'll look for, right? But Devin Bush came off of 2 of the biggest seasons of his career and is going to have a major role for this Chicago Bears team right alongside TJ Edwards. And when you look at that, that's a fun linebacker duo that the front office and the coaching staff have made a clear focus in the style that they want to bring there also. So I look at this, man. At the end of the day, I think that the Bears did a really fucking good job this offseason. And I think when you have to look at it, it's the scheme fit of it all. That's the thing that sometimes you miss in some of these things is the scheme fit, right? And Devin Bush, for what Dennis Allen wants to do schematically, is a huge value signing because you got somebody that fits exactly what not only the scheme that you're trying to run, the identity that you want to bring to your defense, and somebody who's coming off 2 of their hottest seasons as an NFL player. Like we've seen this. Usually, if players have one hot season and then go into free agency, they leverage that into a huge deal, especially if they have the right agent. For Devin Bush to come into this, coming off 2 excellent seasons where he graded high, one of the highest people at his position, just goes to show you that Ryan Poles, once again, could have potentially identified exactly what the Bears needed, not what fans wanted. And I think I have to be clear on that. Those are very often 2 different things, right? Chicago Bears fans want the splash move. Some of them. I won't say act like it's a monolith and everybody wants the same thing. But a lot of Bears fans wanted that splash move. We talked about it here. We talked about the potential of it, what it could mean, the confidence that it brings, all that type of stuff. But you made the right move, right? You now have DeMarco Jackson, who played excellently for you last season. You have TJ Edwards, who may start off the season hurt, but not as long as like an Ozzie Trapillo, and you have Devin Bush there. And you look at what these guys are bringing to the football field. That's going to be that aggressiveness. That's going to be that fight. That's going to be that identity. That's going to be all those things that we want to see. Devin Bush last year, 125 total tackles, 2 fumbles forced, 2 sacks as well, 3 interceptions, all career highs for him. Coming off a career high year and to get that guy for $10 million average per year, yeah, Ryan Poles cooked on that one. Now, we got to see it all come together. And that's what this offseason has been about. And I hope if anybody learns anything from this offseason, it should be about the splash signings are cool. The big signings are cool, but that's usually not what gets you over the top. Usually, you have to make the right functional signings, the right acquisitions, those type of things. And then if you want to make a splash signing after you have that some of that locked in, that's when you do that. And it shows a level of patience from a front office to be able to do that. I know that doesn't always feel that way for fan base, that we know that we want to see this team take the next step. Many people look at the fact that the defense lived off takeaways, the offense lived off fourth quarter comebacks, and they question how sustainable it is. So, of course, they want those splash signings. But I think overall, what the Chicago Bears have done here and what they've shown is that they've shown that they not only have the direction, the vision, but also the patience to build something sustainable here in Chicago. Now, we got to see how it's going to work out next year. And everybody wants to see us take a step forward based off where we were last year and not take a step backwards. And, sometimes that happens. We'll see what happens there. But this team could be playing a much better brand of football. And where that leads this team, I, for one, am very excited to see. And we'll see where that takes us as a football franchise. But let me know what you guys think down below. Hearing that Devin Bush has been labeled as one of the biggest, free under-the-radar signings of the offseason, let me know what you guys think on that down below. But Ryan Poles just put pressure on one of the draft picks from last year. We've talked a lot about how Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Kyle Monangai, these guys all had huge roles last year. And there were some players in that rookie class that didn't make the impact. Ruben Hippolyte, Shemar Turner, Zay Frazier, right? For a variety of reasons between injuries and other things, those guys did not get an opportunity to make the same splash and impact that some of those other guys made. Well, Ryan Poles just put pressure on Shemar Turner. And this could be why, if you see the Bears not really address the interior of the defensive line early in the draft, this could be one of the reasons why. Ryan Poles said this: once he gets up and going, Shamar is a guy that I'm really excited to see have a breakout season. I had a ton of faith he was going to be on the same track as fellow rookies Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and Ozzie Trapillo the more that he played. His impact was going to be felt more and more, and I felt like we didn't get to see that. So Ryan Poles is giving faith in one of the guys. Now, we know one of the flaws of Ryan Poles has been, and we got to talk about this aspect of it as well, one of the flaws of Ryan Poles has been not knowing when to give up on guys that he drafted, right? Now, Shemar Turner, I'm not putting him in that category yet. He's too young. He last year was his rookie year. He had injuries, those type of things. All that stuff was there. So I'm not putting Shemar Turner in that category yet, but I'm just saying that to say it's not surprising to hear Ryan Poles talk glowingly about a player that he drafted and wanting to see more and having a plan for that player to actually make an impact and have a role on the Chicago Bears, as he should. Shemar Turner, 6'3", 293 pounds, but he played in 5 games last year. And in those 5 games, he had 6 solo tackles in those games. And, even in preseason, there was a little bit, I guess, more if you want to look at it that way to kind of look at it. But it's no doubt that Shemar Turner leaves a little bit to be desired, right? But when you go back and look at his production in Texas A&M, over the 4 years there, 10 sacks, 2 in his last season, 6 in the season before that, but 10 sacks over 4 years for a defensive tackle, really good. 115 tackles as well, 3 forced fumbles in that, and a pass deflected over his collegiate career. Shemar Turner was a dog in college. And so the question now becomes about, for a player that was drafted in the 2nd round at pick number 62 for the Chicago Bears, it's not wrong for Ryan Poles to have a lot of expectation for a player that was drafted that high, especially at a position of need. Now, to hear that Ryan Poles said that he had no doubt in his mind that Shemar Turner would be up there as far as production, like guys like Colston Loveland and Luther Burden, to me, that puts a huge sign on him of saying that you really feel like this dude is like that, right? Like, you really feel that he's like that, because Colston Loveland and Luther Burden weren't just good for rookies. They were good football players last year when it was all said and done. So if we're hearing that Ryan Poles is now saying to himself that he feels like Shemar Turner could be up there, great, right? If you already have your long-term mate for Javon Dexter on the roster, that's one less asset that you have to use in the draft, right? Or even if Shemar Turner ends up being the swing defensive tackle or the no or whatever it is, and is able to do those things, the nose tackle, like whatever it is, that's great. But Shemar Turner has an opportunity here, especially with the only people being ahead of him it's Grady Jarrett, of course, as a veteran, Neville Gallimore, Katavius Street. They brought in veterans at your position. Now, what can you go out there and do and show that that's the role that you deserve? That's the role that you should have. That's what we need to see from Shemar Turner this year in his second year. Come out there, make an impact, turn heads, and make people realize that the Bears already got some talent at that defensive tackle position. You need to bring pressure from the interior, whether that's in the run game, whether that's in the pass game, whatever it is. You need to bring that pressure. So, Ryan Poles speaking on that and talking about Shemar Turner shouldn't be a surprise. I hope that Shemar Turner, Ruben Hippolyte, and Zay Frazier match what their counterpoints on the offensive side did last year. I hope that those guys all step up and have a role. But for Ryan Poles to say that not only that he expected them to be up there with Ozzie, Colston, and Luther, to me that says a lot, right? Now, it was an ACL injury that he had in Week 8 against the Baltimore Ravens. It is what it is. That ended his season in 2025. And so now we'll see what he's going to have an opportunity to, right? So, we'll see. If Ryan Poles goes defensive tackle not until round 3 or 4 or something like that, that to me says, hey, we have a belief in Shemar Turner to really come in here and be a big part of this rotation this year. But at the same time, Ryan Poles has to play it safe because ACL injuries on top of that, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're betting on somebody just because you drafted them and you have an opportunity at an upgrade also. So that's going to be the thing that we're going to have there, but we'll see. We'll see. He's going to have an opportunity. James Lynch, Neville Gallimore, Katavius Street. The question that we have here now is how many of those guys can Shemar Turner pass up in the depth chart during training camp, during the preseason, and then going into the season? And that's going to be a storyline to watch out for to see, can Shemar Turner start passing up some of those vets? If he does, then maybe Ryan Poles is right, and he is up there with Colston, Luther, and Ozzie Trapillo, and let's see what he can bring. But with that said, it's talking about the NFL draft, NFL next-gen stats. And again, analytics don't take away from the eye test. Analytics don't take away from what you can see and what you process when you go in and watch tape. It adds some color to it, and maybe it gives you something to go out and look for yourself. The way that I use analytics is I'll see the analytics, and then I'll say, okay, bet. Let me go watch the tape. Let me see what I'm seeing in this. So do that too, right? I'm never saying take analytics just for what it is. But for what it's worth, NFL Next Gen Stats paid this. The 2025 defense began to click when Chicago acquired C.J. Gardner-Johnson to be a hybrid nickel safety prior to Week 9. With Gardner-Johnson now in Buffalo, the Bears may have the chance to add a rookie 25th overall that can replicate his disruptiveness in the hook, curl zone, and off-tackle run game. Dennis Allen's split-field defense could flourish with McNeil Warren and Kyler Gordon patrolling the seams while Kobe Bryant erases the deep middle. Chicago defenses thrived on takeaways last season, and McNeil Warren could maintain that trend with last year's greatest turnover weapon, Kevin Byard. Now in New England, McNeil Warren recorded 5 collegiate interceptions, including a pick-6 last season, and compiled a whopping 9 forced fumbles. So what's that saying is that, again, schematic and stylistically, right, is that Emmanuel McNeil Warren just makes sense for the Chicago Bears. Right now, the fact of the matter is, I wish I could say that Chicago Bears fans would not complain if McNeil Warren was drafted 25th overall. I think there are going to be a lot of Bears fans if the Bears don't. I've seen your guys' comments, wild things like the Bears' first 3 picks should all go to the defensive line, and leave out some other positions. And so even if it's not McNeil Warren, the Bears do need to draft a safety, and it has to be a starting caliber safety. That's part of the thing that Ryan Poles has put himself in. And I do think that also signals some things for Ryan Poles as well, right? So we'll end up seeing with that. McNeil Warren last year, 77 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 5 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and 1 touchdown and a half a sack. So the question now becomes about if you have those weapons in Kyler Gordon, McNeil Warren, and let's also count in Zay Frazier, who I do think Dennis Allen is really going to try to work in to being a part of the scheme and a part of this team next season. You have then exactly what the Chicago Bears were Dennis Allen wants with that. Inside the box, outside the box, flexibility all over the field. Use your defensive back for run support. Line somebody up as a linebacker. You have that, right? I know that Bears fans are going to be adamant about the Bears taking the edge in the first round, and I understand that. But I'm just trying to set the expectation to where if it doesn't happen, it calms down the meltdown a little bit because I know they're going to be Bears fans ready to hoop, holler, and haul. if the Bears don't draft a defensive end and scream to the mountaintops that somehow Ryan Poles got it wrong just because he didn't draft the position that people wanted. And very rarely is that ends up being the case. Again, what fans want and what the team needs sometimes are very different things. And I understand that as fans, we always think that we know exactly what the team needs because we care about the team. It's not that we're coming from a place of not caring about this franchise, not wanting to see the team do great. It's not that. But sometimes we can get fan brain, and that is that we don't look at the overall big picture. We look at it and say, well, there's safeties in the 4th round too. Yeah, but are those, when you look at it, the edge drop-off in round 2 is greater than, is less than the drop-off from safeties from rounds 1 and 2 to round 4, right? It's a huge drop-off in that. So I think you got to address that. It's just like for the sense that there are no starting caliber centers in the 1st round of this draft. There's some that are going to go in the 2nd round, though, right? So you just got to understand where the draft board is leading you. You have to be able to kind of read that like tea leaves and understand that. Am I saying for sure that the Bears are going to draft a safety in the 1st round? No. Am I saying that there's a huge possibility that it could happen? Yes. And I want people to prepare themselves for it. And no, it does not mean all of a sudden now that everything is for naught or everything's terrible if it doesn't happen. So, we'll see what the Bears decide to do with it. And I'm going to trust Ryan Poles to go out there and make the right decision for the best part of the team going forward into the future and for the now. And we'll see what they end up doing with that one, man. And we'll see. Overall, I just want what's best for this team. And I want this team to take a step forward defensively and be a team that's much better and much more sound consistently on the defensive side of the ball. And let's hope that we can get that done. Let's see. All right. With that said, let's move to the last topic of the day. So there was an article here on Bears Goggles On that was written by, I always like to shout people out in the article. It was written by Parker Hurley, who actually, I do like Parker's writing quite a bit. And he talked about 4 players that may be taking their final snaps for the Bears in 2026. Now, I do love that he puts a percentage on each of these players, and we're going to break that down. The first player that he mentions is Jaylon Johnson, saying it's a 50% chance this is the last year for him with this team. The Bears could save approximately $14 million in cap space if they decide to move on from Johnson next season. His situation will likely depend heavily on his health throughout the season. Johnson has consistently proven himself as a reliable cornerback, has generally lived up to his contract. However, injuries have prevented him from staying on the field consistently last season. If Johnson returns fully healthy and performs as his usual level, the Bears could explore an extension before considering a release or a trade. I put it at higher than 50-50. I could see if Johnson was a player that we talked about every year, him missing 6-7 games. That hasn't been Jaylon Johnson over his career, right? So, while I get the 50-50 nature of it, I think if you look at the history of Jaylon Johnson, there's more reason to believe that he's going to be healthy and show out and probably get that extension to where he may even get more money long term, but it breaks up some of that money next year and frees up more money for the Chicago Bears. But for what it's worth, his name's on this list. Next up, Dayo Odeyingbo saying there's an 80% chance this is his last year with the team. I need that to be a 100% chance. Dayo Odeyingbo, unless he comes out the gates firing and looks like the player people hoped that he was going to be, but after torn Achilles in football, there's a huge possibility he may not even be himself the majority of the year, right? We did sign him last season, and we gave him, but we could save about $15 million in cap space by moving on from him next year. This year, with the guaranteed money, it wouldn't have turned into that. It would have turned into too much dead cap. But that $20 million contract, I don't think he's going to live up to it. So I personally put a 90% chance on him not returning. But for what it's worth, Parker puts an 80% chance on it. Next up, Cole Kmet puts a 40% chance that this is his last year with the team. So a 60% chance he actually stays with the team. I think I like that as well, right? Listen, Cole Kmet, I get it. With Colston Loveland, you like to think of, hey, the Bears can replace Cole Kmet and save some money. But I think what Cole Kmet did as a blocker last year and still can be used in the pass game a little bit more this year, we'll see. But there's no doubt that Colston Loveland has already probably passed him up as a bigger target for that. And so Cole Kmet could very well want a bigger role somewhere else. But again, Chicago kid basically, went to Notre Dame. I guess we'll see on that one. They also have TJ Edwards as a 75% chance that this is last year with it, which is odd to me, right? TJ Edwards has been nothing but a pit bull when he's been on the football field for the Chicago Bears. And his contract is he'd only saved the Bears $8.5 million in cap space. We did move over from Tremaine Edmonds this season. So, maybe if Devin Bush, maybe if you draft another linebacker, I haven't started looking at next year's draft. Maybe next year is supposed to be a really big linebacker crop. I don't know. But I think TJ Edwards has already shown himself to be a leader of Dennis Allen's system and his scheme. I just don't understand why the Bears will move on from him. So that's my personal thing. But let me know what you guys think on that. Again, Cole Kmet, 40% chance that this is his last year. TJ Edwards, 75% chance. Dayo Odeyingbo, 80. I need that at 100. And Jalen Johnson, a 50% chance that they remain with the team past the 2026 season. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. Do you agree with Parker? Do you think he's crazy on some of these? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Now, let me know how you guys feel. Do you feel that Devin Bush was one of the steals of free agency? Who do you think could break out this season? Do you think Shemar Turner, like Ryan Poles? Let me know that down in the comments down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us on every social media platform at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearcentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.